All right, so we are going to say a word, and then the next person, my microphone's not falling too. You jinxed it. The next person will say a word to make a thing. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start.
Wait, which way are we going?
Let's go to Lauren
Clockwise
next.
or like
Fried.
clockwise?
Fried chicken.
Chicken bake.
Bake ziti.
What is ziti noodles?
Ooh.
What's after noodles? Noodles.
No, she's out.
All right.
What goes after noodles?
Father, noodles.
Fabulous.
What?
Fabulous.
You have to go on noodles.
Fabulous. I thought, no, I get to start over. Don't I get to start over?
No,
No.
you have to go
All
on
right.
noodles.
Noodles.
See?
Bakery.
What? That's not.
Bakery cakes. Like, you know the pink ones? Sorry.
Cakes.
All right, that's
She's
it.
out too.
We're done.
Oh gosh.
And welcome back to Quarantine. My name is Father David Kidd.
My name is Lauren Strauss.
I'm Athena Getzi, and today we have with us Riley. She is from Notre Dame. She's a sophomore. And before we get into our topics today, there are a couple things we want to talk to you guys about. So number one is our new AWAKEN app. We are super awesome, and you have to follow the link on the screen in order to go get it. You cannot find this. It's like secretive, okay? So if you're a viewer, you have special access. It's a really awesome app, and it's a way that you can communicate with the hosts along with just seeing some really funny photos of what we do in our day-to-day lives. And then if you really like what we're doing here, we ask that you join AWAKEN Nation. So you can donate for as little as a cup of coffee. We would absolutely love to have your donations and your support, and you can follow the link on the screen to donate. And of course, our Hallow app. So if you follow the link on the screen here, you get a month of premium for free, so you can test it out. So if you kind of suck at Catholic meditations like I do, this is for you. It's true. So today we are going to talk about being humble. And I'm really excited to have Riley here. And we're gonna start with this. Riley, I want you to tell us the story about the musical and the necklace.
Okay, so there's a necklace that one sophomore wears during the musical, and for Notre Dame every year. And it's always a sophomore because over 15 years ago, one of Notre Dame's alum, her name was Becca Brookover, passed away her sophomore year at Notre Dame. And she was in a musical and she loved to dance. It was her favorite thing. And nobody knew that she was suffering. She died from cancer her sophomore year. And the only people that knew were her directors and her teachers. And then after the show was over, when she had already danced, she passed away and told everyone. So we wear the locket, so she's always dancing on the Notre Dame stage.
So this
Awesome.
locket is given to a sophomore every year.
Yes.
Sophomore's chosen. And the reason that I love this topic and that it lined up perfectly that Riley was coming is because I remember getting a text message from Riley saying she was going to have good news to share. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but not this. And she tells me about this locket and explains what happens. And then it was the next text message that, like, for me, Riley is one of the most humble people I've ever met. She responds, and it's going to be good news no matter which sophomore gets this locket, because I absolutely adore all of them. And for me, that was like huge, because I was like, teenage girls are not like this, number one. I was not like that as a teenage girl. And two, I think just the idea, like, she received the locket. She got to dance with it. Super cool and very deserving for her. But I think it was really neat that she went into it with that just humility that
That's awesome.
whoever gets to receive this, like, it's going to be a really cool experience.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So going off of that,
Well, can we stay on that? Because I think that's so
Go
good.
for it.
Yeah.
Stay
'Cause,
on there forever.
It just fits our theme. You know, I think one of the great ways in which we can practice humility, I think, is just recognizing the goodness in another person, right? So like Riley, you just being able to say, these are awesome young ladies who I think would be more than worthy of this necklace, and you saw that in them, I think is a great sign too of your own humility, but also too, I think it reveals something wonderful about you, which is virtue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I think of the word humility or humble, I think little. To little yourself, to make yourself smaller.
Those Beatitudes, man.
Yeah.
Humble thyself in the sight of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think part of what is, I think, challenging with humility is we often want the focus to be on ourselves, right? What about me? What about my stuff and what I'm doing in my life and why I'm so cool? Like, I've got this awesome, sweet podcast with all these people, right? Like,
Look what I just did.
Look
yeah.
what I just did, right? And it feeds something that we have a hunger for, but it's not ourselves, it's God, right? And like what God hopefully is trying to get us to see is that it's not about us, it's about Him. And anything and everything that we do should be directed towards Him, God's glory, right? And the benefit of others. So like every opportunity we have to help someone out, every time we have a chance to say, hey, do you need help? I am there for you, 110%, is a great way of practicing humility because it keeps the focus not on ourselves, but on God and on our neighbor.
I think another focus to remember is that I know in my life, someone will come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, Lauren, you've helped me so much. Like, you've helped me through the situation. And it's like, yes, I did, because I am physically here on this earth with you, but telling them and recognizing the fact that God was working through you to help them. It wasn't just you. Like, I fully accept that, and I know that God was working through me. Like, that wasn't me when, like, what I did.
I can't do the things that the Lord can do.
And, like, it's hard for people to understand that, is that, like, they are like, no, you did this for me. I was like, no, I need to tell you right now that, like, it really wasn't me. It was the Lord working through me. Yeah,
That's inspiring and difficult to do.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's funny because I get that with parents. They all the time are like, you're doing great in Life Teen and the ministry, and how are you getting teens? I don't know. I tell, like, all the time, I'm like, I don't know. I think they're inviting their friends. I'm not really sure. Well, what are you doing there? I don't know. I pray every Sunday and hope that somebody else takes over because I can't do it by myself. And I think that's so important for us to remember, because even, I mean, you can see it sometimes even in priests, because they're human, that humility kind of disappears because I feel like priests are looked up to. And so you can see it even there. You can see it in principals and teachers, that the more that people are kind of feeding into that like, you're this awesome person doing these awesome things, we forget that the Lord is the center, and that ultimately we're striving to be perfect and Christ-like, like the Lord. But part of that is learning to be humble, because that's what Christ was.
Yeah. And if everyone was perfect, if everyone didn't have any flaws or anything, like, there wouldn't be struggle, and there wouldn't be anything for us to learn from. There wouldn't be mistakes made and new trials that we have to go through and learn about. So,
and part of being or growing into being humble is sometimes being humiliated. So Riley, right now, no. Wait, I mean, some of those are the life experiences.
I did fall in the hallway today, though. I picked up my book,
openly sharing,
and I dropped my water bottle and my, like that.
I'm sure you were very graceful about it. No.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Something.
Yeah, she's like, wait,
It was earlier.
oh, beautiful.
And I think it is. It's those life experiences, whether it's falling down or sometimes being made fun of, sometimes, like getting a lower test score than we thought we earned, right? Or even sometimes being left out, even when we think we've got close friends, and all of a sudden, like, no one's checking in on us, and we're like, well, what about me? All those life experiences, I think, help us, practicing that virtue of humility. And those are like small gifts, and that only comes, I think, through life experience and age. And hopefully, as we grow older, I think we become more humble, because we realize the gifts that others have, the skills that others have, but also, too, how much life teaches us along the way. And we don't realize that till we've gone through a difficulty or a real challenge in our life or just falling down.
And I think it's really important to remember that, like, while we are called to be Christ-like, which is perfect, Christ was also human. So if you look at the Bible stories of when he walked the earth, he still struggled with things. Like, his human emotions still took control sometimes. So he understands that we're broken. And so the most important thing that we can strive to be, because obviously we're never going to reach perfection because there's too many human flaws. Like, we just can't do that while we're here on this earth. But the most important step to take is to teach ourselves how to be humble, because we need that humility in order to see where those imperfections and insecurities are so that we can grow from those. Because if we can't see them, then we kind of think of ourselves as like the high and mighty perfect person.
Yeah.
That does not exist.
And that's important to remember, is that we aren't greater than God, and we're not greater than the person sitting next to us, or the people that God has given us in our life. Like, we have to remember that everyone that is in our life is a son and daughter in Christ, and God loves us all the same. He created us all, and we can't think that we are greater than someone else or him. Mostly. So.
And I think it's through those difficulties, right, where we realize we need something greater. You know, we do need God. And it's through those difficulties too that maybe we're humbled, but then we can then help others through that same difficulty. I share with students at times where maybe I ask them sometimes in class, I'll say, what do you aspire to, or what would you like to be? And some of them say a speech therapist. And I tell them, that's awesome, because a speech therapist helped me when I was 6 or 7 years old, because I needed that. And I was having difficulty speaking. And now, of course, I speak in front of, several hundred people every weekend, or during school. And they're like, no way. And I was like, yeah, that was a real struggle of mine. And so I think those difficulties can not only help humble us, but also allow us to help others.
And I think part of that is finding that friend group that's not afraid to speak up when you're not being humble. I know for me in high school, I was a little bit of a flirt and a lot of a gossip. And 100%. I didn't date, and I wasn't interested in dating, but I didn't mind the attention. I'm just going to be honest. It's fine. I've grown. I've grown. But part of that is I had a best friend, and in the moment, I absolutely hated her. I remember sitting in computer class, and we weren't allowed to have cell phones during class then. So secretly it was underneath my desk. I'm just going to admit a whole bunch to you guys right now. And so I was texting one of the boys that I really liked from youth group, and she leaned over and was like, "You need to knock that off." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You need to stop it. We all know you're not going to date. We all know you're doing this for attention."
Wow.
And I remember in the moment grabbing my things and walking out of class saying I had to go to the bathroom. I didn't talk to her for like a week. But if it wasn't for that, I don't think that I would be where I am today. I don't think I would have ever thought about going into ministry. I would have still been the Athena that loved the attention and wanted to be the center of attention at all times. And I wouldn't have gotten to step back and see myself in a different light, which hopefully helped me grow into a better wife for my husband versus what probably would have been a product of all that attention. So I think it's important for us to remember that when we have those true friends that are calling us out, it's going to suck. It's going to hurt. We're not going to like it. But that's part of being humble, is learning how to accept that and grow from those experiences.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think it's really important to not just be, humble in your everyday life, around the people that are in your life, but also in front of God when you're praying with him, to him, remembering that, just not saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, because he's not a genie. But, actually putting everything down and trusting that he's going to give you the desires of your heart as he sees fitting for you, and humbling yourself before him, and littling yourself, making yourself smaller than he is.
That's a good point, Lauren, because we can easily be and tell God how wonderful things are going in our life, and he may be like, "Oh, I guess you don't need me." I'm like, "Oh no, wait.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll actually be honest with you, Lord. And I think one of the great prayers to help with that is the litany of humility, and those are hard things to say, but they're what we need to hear and what we need to tell ourselves, and why we need God's help to practice that virtue. And we've quote often from Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa says, I don't we don't demand perfection. God demands faithfulness, right? And so it's the daily striving towards that virtue, which maybe we also daily don't quite reach. And yet our Lord says, that's really what I desire is your faithfulness and striving towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think Mother Teresa is like the perfect example of humility
She's
too.
so good.
Yes.
She is. She's like my favorite. I wish she was a saint when I was actually confirmed so that I could just adopt her. But it's okay. St. Lucy's still really cool. I really like her too. But no, I think that, Pope John Paul II, like if you don't know who that is, read about his life.
He's amazing.
But
He's so awesome.
He's that one right there, shaving.
he was like a
Shaving.
totally
He's the
normal
best.
person.
The saint shave.
But he suffered terribly in life at the end of his life. And not once did he do that in hiding. Like, not once was he like, God's people cannot see me this way because I'm supposed to lead them and be strong. In fact, he was more strong by sharing that and being open and humble in those moments of his Parkinson's taking over. Like, to me, like, that is what God calls of all of us, is when we're going through things, not to like hide it and close a door, but to be vulnerable and speak up. And I tell my teens this all the time. Like, when we talk about daily prayer, it's something I strive for. I'm not great at it. And I'm very open with that because I'm not going to preach that people should be doing things that I also am not fully doing. Hence why I signed up for a weekly holy hour in the absolute silence in front of the Lord. And it's so hard for me. It's so uncomfortable. It's so hard. But part of that is because I know that I need to humble myself and I need to be more open to the Lord. And that also means doing things that you don't like to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Well, hey, I think we've done a really nice job here today. Yeah. And just thank you for joining us and being part of the show. And maybe we'll just wrap it up with a few.
Thanks, Riley.
Yes, thank you, Riley. And just a reminder that if you do not have this yet on your phone, you want the Awaken app. It's going to be really easy for you to go and find any of the podcasts that you enjoy watching here. You can go to the awakenapp.io. You are not going to find this in the App Store. So go and follow that link on the screen. And if you like what we're doing here and the content that we're putting out, and you'd like to support us, we ask that you join the Awaken Nation. And that you can find at awakencatholic.org/donate. Any little bit helps us. And lastly, if you do not have access to a silent holy hour and you are not great at daily prayer, the Hallow app is for you. And if you follow the link on the screen, wow. If you follow the link on the screen, you can get a month of premium for free.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you guys later.
This
Ciao.
show and all media on Awaken Catholic is made possible by the Awaken Nation and the Hallow app. The Awaken Nation is a community of people like you who support all things Awaken for as cheap as a cup of coffee a week and get access to exclusive content. Learn more by visiting awakencatholic.org/donate. Hallow is the only audio-guided Catholic prayer app focused on contemplative prayer and traditional Catholic meditation such as Lectio Divina, Daily Examen, and the Rosary. We here at Awaken all use Hallow every day and love it. To learn more or give it a try, visit hallow.app/awaken.